I'm Larry Krohn, own Packmasters Dog Training, Bowling Green, Kentucky.
How long have you been training?
This will be going on 26, 27 years now, somewhere right around there. I'm old.
When you first started dog training, it wasn't with this facet, it wasn't play.
No. I've always used an aspect of play. Like for me, one of the things that I've always enjoyed more than anything with my dogs, throwing a ball, throwing something. Like fetch was a big thing with me, like always, from day one. To me, that's just a natural progression of that relationship building that I enjoy, watching the dog enjoy it. You know what I mean? So if you have a dog that will chase something and bring it back to you, that's what a dog is, right? That's what we all think. Who doesn't want a dog that will chase a ball and bring it back to them? That's a beautiful game.
How did you come to start to figure out that play was more than just a game?
My first dog, the dog that started it all for me, because I messed him up really bad. Me and my wife screwed up the dog. Like a bunch of the people we deal with every day. We didn't have kids, that was our baby, right? We didn't know any different. So we treated him like a human child, and we pampered him, and we loved on him in a way we shouldn't have, and we didn't give him what he needed to thrive, not just survive. And he had serious anxiety, right? He struggled with it. If we left the apartment, you could hear that dog screaming. I mean, it was absolutely awful. So we did everything wrong. And I started working with the trainer when he was 5 or 6 months old. And that trainer was really focused on the behavior, not obedience so much. And that's where I fell in love with that aspect of it, and I became obsessed with learning how the dog's mind worked, how the behavior worked. So for many years, I didn't even do obedience with my dogs, but that dog had one thing that he was crazy about, and that was a Frisbee. So he was a Border Collie Lab mix, okay? He didn't care about a ball, a tug, any other toy, but when you broke out the Frisbee, he was a different dog. And you saw that dog light up. There was no more stress, there was no more anxiety, and that dog would chase a Frisbee for hours. And I could take out something else to see, nothing. He just wanted to chase a Frisbee, I could put him in a down at the end of my yard and walk to the opposite end, and by the time I got, 50, 60 yards away, I'd turn around, and he'd be right behind me. He'd belly crawl the whole time. I was like, dude, what are you doing? But when I saw what the Frisbee did, what it brought out of him, that was it. So every dog on that, I would throw a ball. For my first Rottweiler, wouldn't chase a ball. And I really wanted him to chase a ball. I wanted to have that relationship with him where we could play a ball. He'd run at it like halfway, half speed, get to it and just leave. I said, okay, what could I do to get this dog to chase the ball? So one day I was in my kitchen, I took the ball, I made it come alive, I acted real silly, and I bounced it a bunch of times real fast, and then I put it in a kitchen drawer right in front of him. And that was it. And that's just something that popped in my head. And 2 weeks later, when I took it out, that dog would jump through a brick wall to get to that ball. Like it was insane. Not saying that that's going to work with every dog, but it did for him. And so every day, that was part of our ritual, And every day after that, every dog after that, the one thing that I do every day, I don't train every day, not even close, but I do play fetch with my dogs every single day.
Other question? Quick. I'm going to ask you a couple questions that we were asking Joel. What we're going to do is we're going to cut your response, Jay's response, his responses.
Gotcha.
Chop them all together. So how did you become a part of this tour, or this seminar tour?
Well, I used to watch Joel on TV, right? Back in the early 90s or whenever it was, there wasn't a lot of dog stuff on TV. We didn't have the internet. And I used to watch Good Dog U all the time with Joel, his show on Animal Planet. So I knew of Joel. And then I was presenting at the IACP a few years ago. And that was the first time I ever went to the IACP conference. And I was a presenter there, which was very nerve-wracking. And that's where I met Joel. And he came up and he introduced himself. And he was like all excited and like excited to meet me. And like telling me like he was such a big fan of the stuff I was doing. And I was like, you're a fan of mine. Like I've been watching you since I'm pretty young, you know what I mean? And so that was kind of bizarre to me. Super good guy, super great trainer, and we just hit it off. And so we did that one seminar together. And after that first one, he said, "Hey, what do you think about Jay, you know?" And I'm a big fan of what Jay does. And I said, "I think, you know, that would be perfect." And that was it, history. You know, we brought Jay on, and it's been like this ever since.
How did you meet Jay?
I met Jay at that same conference. I think that was the first time I physically met Jay in person. We had talked online. I liked what he was doing, you know, super intelligent guy, a great teacher. But at that same conference, Jay was actually that conference I was presenting, Joel was presenting, and so was Jay, all different times. So I met Joel and Jay at the same time at that conference.
Okay. How long have you guys been doing this?
Oh, I think a little over a year now. I can't remember if St. Louis, if this was our first one we all did together. It was literally just a little over a year ago. I do a lot of seminars on my own. I like these much better. Like, I enjoy working with these two guys. They're really good guys, and they're really great trainers, you know, and people seem to like what we're doing. So, I don't know, it's working.
Is this something you'd like to continue with?
Yeah, we're going to definitely continue it, you know, until we get on each other's nerves, I guess, and wind up like, I don't know, the Rolling Stones or the Beatles, whoever breaks up, I don't know.
Getting to know you.
Yeah.
You consistently talk about being a student.
Sure.
So you've obviously been to seminars and workshops before in the past. So you obviously been to seminars in the past. As a student
Sure.
of dog training,
Mm-hmm.
what is the most valuable things that you like things that you've pulled from? Not necessarily concepts, but like as far talk about the experience as a student.
Yeah, I much prefer sitting on that side than being the so-called teacher, right? Because I'm a student, 100% student. I don't consider myself a teacher. I think I'm lucky if I know 5% of what there is to know in dog training, right? So every day I'm obsessed with learning constantly. Everything we do, everything I do, every day I'm trying to educate myself. And I've always been a big proponent. I think one of the biggest mistakes in the pet dog world is we focus in the pet dog world. And for years, I've pushed pet dog trainers learning from working dog trainers. That's where I became a much better trainer. Like, I was a good trainer before. I was good with behavior and problems. But once I went off and started learning from some of the phenomenal working dog people out there, everything changed. Everything changed, and my ability went through the roof. And I got much better, because when you're able to deal with those highly driven, complex dogs, when you understand that, it makes the pet dog stuff a lot easier, you know, a lot easier. And I wish more people would spend some time in that world.
What is, so this is going to be just a selfish little request. Let's talk a lot about dog culture
Mm-hmm.
and what you think is wrong with it and how you feel, not necessarily going to seminars, but how you feel, what is your mission to solve those problems?
Oof, boy, we could dive deep into this. This could be forever. I think there's a couple of things here.
And can you use the word dog culture?
Sure, I think
Dog training culture.
some of the biggest problems in the dog training culture, social media is a killer. There's a lot of benefits with social media too, but social media has caused a lot of harm in the dog training culture, right? And another big issue that I think hurts everybody, there's so much money to be made. So much money. You guys heard me talking in there. I got friends who make 7 figures. Training dogs, think about that. Think about that. That's a lot of money. So it draws a lot of people in that don't necessarily love the animal. They don't love the education part. They don't love actually training dogs. They love running the business and making money. And so I've been asked for years, like, you're fairly popular, you have a good following, why don't you have a big facility? Well, that's real easy. there was a time when I thought I wanted that, and then when I started doing seminars, I'd do seminars at some of my friends' places that had big facilities, and I'd be like, wow, this is impressive, and they're making tons of money, and they're traveling the world, you know, and I say, I think I'm gonna do this, and every single one would stop me in my tracks and say, I am still so jealous of the way you get to do it, because you still love training dogs. And they'd say, I don't train dogs anymore. I run a business. I put out fires. And right there was all I needed to hear. And so now I could afford a place. I could afford a very nice place. I could afford to hire 20 young trainers and, you know, make 7 figures this year if I wanted to. But I still love the art of trying to learn how to be a better dog trainer. And when I say that, you notice I said, not just training the dogs, I'm trying to get better at training dogs. And that's something I'm gonna be trying to do till the day I die, or can no longer physically do this, you know? I got a long way to go.
Can I get your thoughts on this?
Mm-hmm.
It's a follow-up to what you just said. Tyler Muto,
Mm-hmm.
when we saw him out in New York, he was talking about exactly what you just said.
Mm.
How dog training should be this connection with the person and the dog, and it should have a value in itself, like playing with the dog.
Sure.
When there's an external value involved, like money,
Mm-hmm.
that can sometimes replace, and I do mean replace, the initial value of working with dogs.
100%.
Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, Tyler's 100% right. It changes everything, right? And so the one thing that I force myself still to do, I give away a lot of free stuff, right? A lot of free content for a reason. I've never been hurt by giving anything away for free. Never been hurt. But my favorite things to do is if I give a seminar for combat vets, there's no charge for that, right? That's free stuff. If I give free group classes in my area, which I do quite often, that's the stuff I love the most. That's the most rewarding stuff to me. It really is. And maybe part of it is there's no pressure, right? No one can say, hey, this sucks. You can't, it's free. You know what I mean? But all kidding aside, people have been so good to me, and this industry, this dog training world has given me so much, my family so much. People are very good to me, right? That I think the least I could do is give something back. It's not hurting me, right? It's not taking up too much of my time. It's not costing me anything financially. And people say, you know, you could be charging for that. Yeah, I could be, but it's not going to feel the same to me. And so for me, it's very important. But it's very important that my kids see that too. I don't want, you know, when I'm on my deathbed, I want to make sure my kids don't think of me as a great dog trainer. They think of me as a good dude who did a lot.
So let's pick up from when I'm on my deathbed.
Mm-hmm.
Just try that as authentically.
Sure. All right. So that's important to me because when I'm on my deathbed, hopefully that's the way it goes, right? Where you have time knowing you can say the things you want to say and stuff. I want my wife and my kids to not say, wow, he was a great dog trainer. You know, that means nothing in the end. But I hope that they think I did a lot of good and I was just a good dude, good human, right? That's what's important to me. That's what's important for me. I want them to be able to look at me that way.
Do you feel that you have an easier time delivering this message, working with clients directly or working seminars?
Both. I have an advantage, and it's not something I take lightly because people know me, right? And so if a trainer's coming in, a young trainer who doesn't have a following or a name, let's say, right? It feels weird even saying that. They're starting from scratch and maybe they don't grab the attention of people. I have to work a little harder. I don't have to work real hard at it because people think I've gotten to this place because I must have something to offer. And that's not always true. So it's a little unfair because I think it is a little easier on me. Okay, if I say something, people tend to believe it, and that's a big responsibility. And that's why you guys hear me talking in there. I talk about a lot of things that maybe a lot of dog trainers don't talk about. You know, that emotional side of things, that connection. You know, there's been very few seminars that I don't have a moment where maybe I break down a little bit because of some of the things that I've experienced with people, been part of, the things people tell me, the things I see. That's not come sit down in place. You know, it's so much more than that. so much more than that. You know, I've had people do tremendous things for my family, like tremendous things that I can never afford or pay for. But I'll do something for someone and they want to pay me. I said, there's no charge for this. I watched your dogs for a week, you know what I mean? I'm not charging you for that. And people are like, well, then you're going to do this. And I'm like, I'm not good at accepting things. I'm very uncomfortable with it. But when it comes to my kids getting to do things, that's a big benefit that dog training has provided. You know what I mean? Like, that's a beautiful thing to see. And listen, I've been in celebrities' homes, you know, country music stars' homes that I've been huge fans of for years. And my daughter's with me. And, you know, we'd be riding home and she'd be like, Dad, when you were like getting into country music and listening to, like, did you ever think you'd be sitting in their living room one day hanging out with them? It's like, Sophia, no, doesn't work that way. Like it is, I got to pinch myself sometimes, you know what I mean? So I'm extremely blessed. I have nothing to bitch and complain about. I really don't.
Can I ask you about how being a father has changed your perceptions on training dogs and working with dogs?
Oh, man. Yeah, it's my dog training's my therapy, right? Because I'm a ball of nerves. I doubt myself a lot. I go through hard times. I think everybody goes through really hard times. I think everybody questions their ability, whatever you're into. There's times where I go to bed at night, and that's where I struggle a little bit, nighttime, where you lay there and all the negative thoughts start popping in your head, and you just get real down. Sometimes you wake up and you're so depressed and you don't know why. And you ask yourself, what do I have to complain about, right? I got nothing, but you can't help it. It happens. And so there was a time where I was going to stop training dogs because I was away from my wife and kids so much. When I used to have to leave my house and travel and go door to door and train, it got old when my wife and kids are going to the pool and I have to be driving all over God's creation to train dogs. It was very lonely and very depressing, right? And so there was a time I was going to quit. I didn't want to train dogs anymore because it was keeping me away from my kids. And then I was doing a group class that weekend, and my wife and kids came. I did it at a park so the kids could play on the jungle gym and stuff. And after the group class, we're driving home, and my wife said to me, she's like, you can't stop doing this. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you can't stop doing this. Like, you're so happy out there. Like, you can't stop doing this. This is your thing. And I was like, maybe you're right, you know? So she's kind of the one who pushed me into it, forced me to do it when I was hesitating, but she's the one that also kept my ass in it when I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, she will figure it out. So I just started doing more stuff with my kids involved. Sophia started traveling everywhere with me. She was here last year and is supposed to be here now, and she's devastated that she can't be here. You know, so including the family is a good way to not get burnt out and hate doing this for a living. You know what I mean? That's what I've done.
Do you think that people go too far with avoiding things like including the family because they want to look professional?
Yes. I think you guys know by now I'm not very professional. I is who I is, okay? I'm gonna treat you right. I'm gonna treat the animal right. I'm easy to get along with, and I'm always gonna be respectful to you, but I'm gonna be me. And for a long time, my wife used to cringe because what comes out of my mouth isn't always appropriate. I kid around a lot. I don't take myself very serious, you know, I just don't. But shit, life's very short. Why are you gonna take yourself all serious? You know what I mean? We're very lucky to do this. This should be fun, always.
I want to ask you some follow-up questions about the lineup. There's a lot of diversity, but there's a lot of similarities in the way you guys train.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you guys are the same?
Sure. Yeah, we do things a little differently training-wise, but when it comes right down to it, the end goal is exactly the same for all three of us, right? You'll never see one of us treat people bad. You'll never see one of us treat the dog bad. And we may have slightly different ways of getting to where we want to be, but we do a lot of things very similar too. And so when Jay's working dogs and he's talking, I'm listening and I'm watching and I'm learning from him. When Joel is teaching a dog, I'm watching, because teaching behaviors, like especially like precision things, has never been my strong suit, right? And so when you see Joel starting off with something that looks so basic, maybe not very sexy, right? But then you watch a movie or a TV commercial and you see the finished product, you're like, no matter what aspect of dog training you're in or doing, it all starts very unsexy. That's dog training. And good dog training shouldn't be exciting. It should be pretty damn boring, you know what I mean?
Overall, how did you think the seminar went?
I'm always our biggest critic. I'm never going to be completely happy. It's nice to hear everyone else's thoughts on it, you know, but I always look for the things that we could do better. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's about. I don't look at it as we're coming in here to be teachers. And you guys heard me tell people this. If people are sacrificing their time and their money to be here and their weekends, then the way I see it is I'm their employee. I work for them. As long as they're happy, I'm happy.
Was there anybody that wasn't happy?
Not that I know of. Maybe time will tell, you know. But I think we all do our best to make sure we give everybody what they need. You know, we try real hard. And the feedback's always fantastic, you know what I mean? But if somebody isn't happy, we welcome that too, you know what I mean? But I do so many follow-ups with people afterward, so I never just stop here. You guys heard me say, you know, I give my number out. I want to see the videos and continue the process of what we just started here. Because that's all we're doing is starting something here.
Can I get your feedback, the presenter's feedback on what it feels like to be done? We had everybody here was so happy and just all this dense learning and all this stuff, but there's also the logistical, like I'm tired, I miss my family. Like, what do you feel like today?
Oh, Sundays, we started cutting them short on Sundays because by Sunday afternoon, people are done. We're done, they're done. You guys see, it's a lot, right? When you start all day Friday, all day Saturday, but then think about adding all the nighttime training. We're training until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, right? So it's not just Friday and Saturday. So I think by lunchtime Sunday, people are like, okay, let's wrap it up. Our brain hurts, we're tired, want to get on the road. We do miss our families. I miss my family. I'm probably going to jump on the road here when we're done with this and drive home instead of wait until tomorrow.
What was any clients or attendees, dog working spots, or just people that stood out to you?
Ooh, man. Well, TK, of course, because of his story, and I know a little bit about his story, and I met him. But it was good for people to see that that dog is not what he's labeled. He should be in a good home. He goes to the right home, that dog will thrive. You saw him with me. You saw him with Jay. That dog's very capable of living a good life. I really enjoyed Goose, the big giant Corso, big beautiful dog, right? But a lot of times it's the little things, like the lady who didn't want to bring her dog down from the room, the Black Shepherd, because it's going to be too disruptive. She didn't want to feel uncomfortable and disrupting. I said, no, you have to bring the dog. That's why we're here, right? And so, yeah, when she brought the dog in, it's screaming and whining and loud, and you can see her, of course, she's going to be uncomfortable, but that's why we're here. So that's something she's been dealing with for 2 years. Other trainers tried things, different things. You try giving it food, you try ignoring it, you try redirecting it, you try punishing it. We fixed that in 5 minutes. Literally 5 minutes. That dog never made another peep, right? The whole weekend. That's little things like that are what really just, that's what drives me. I loved just to see the relief and the happiness on her face. You know, I would look at her every after hour, I just go, she'd be like, you know, that's great. I love stuff like that. But everybody comes out here, and like today you saw, when people put themselves out there like that in uncomfortable situations, you have to acknowledge that. You have to acknowledge that and give them what you don't ignore that. You don't make them feel bad. You don't try to exploit that. You make sure that they know this is hard. I get it, you know, but you're totally capable of doing it. And then you have to appreciate people stepping up to do that because everybody benefits from that. You know what I mean?
I have just one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is from the presenter's perspective, I want to get your thoughts on the perspective of an attendee. So I was asking a couple of young girls who came, now that they've been to their first seminar, this was their first seminar.
Oh, wow, cool.
They've learned seminar skills. And their biggest takeaway from going to seminars period was get comfortable sooner, ask questions sooner, meet people sooner. From a presenter's perspective, how do you, or what skills do you think attendees should bring with them, and how do you help them along that way?
oh my God, get your money's worth. Don't be scared to speak up. No one's going to judge you. The matter of fact, the louder you are and the more you speak up, the more questions you ask, people are going to be grateful because everyone's thinking the same thing. And if you have a question, I guarantee you several other people have the same questions. And what that does is that gets the ball rolling, right? You ask one question, or you bring out one dog, or you touch one subject. That gets the ball rolling for everyone to speak up, and you get moving. You understand? So, I don't do the PowerPoint stuff. I don't do all this. That's not my thing. So normally what I do is I jump right into a dog. Let's bring a dog out and let that dog create the conversation, create the questions. This one was a little different because I started off with the videos and the text messages just because I thought that was important for people to see on the side of your everyday dog owner who's struggling to where there's emotional issues, the dog is going to die. The conversations I have with people every day, right? And I didn't know if that would be effective or work, if it was worthwhile, but from the feedback I got from everyone, they were like, you should do that every seminar. Like every seminar, we need to see something like that. And Joel said that to me. He's like, you got to start doing that because that was pretty awesome. So, all right, that'll work then.
Last question. So, a lot of, as you know, our whole podcast is about helping dog trainers kind of figure out their path and how to seek the right knowledge. What advice would you have for a young dog trainer who is seeking knowledge in regards to, ways of going about learning?
When I found my first dog trainer that blew my mind, right, that I thought was just the greatest in the world, and is regarded as one of the best there is, he was the first person to tell me his ego wasn't big enough to just take his word as gospel. I kept going back and he said, go learn from other people. Learn from as many as you can, right? Seek out the best of the best and learn from many as you can. Take the information and make it your own. Because I think you guys probably heard me talk about this weekend. You don't try to copy and emulate anyone because it'll never work. You'll fail. We all have our own personalities, our own quirks, things we're good at, things we're not good at. So you take the information, you take the education, and you make it your own. And you practice, and you practice, and you practice. And you allow yourself to fail. You allow your clients to fail. You allow the dogs to fail. And the mistakes are the biggest reward in this whole game.
That's it.
That's perfect, man. We just needed just an outro then.
Yeah. Just say my name's Larry Krohn. See you guys later. Or just like a sign off.
All right, guys, I'm Larry Krohn with Packmaster Dog Training. Do these things with Joel and Jay. You guys, you young fella dog trainer podcast guys, you do a great job. And I told you, you're going to go a long way because you're not only very good at what you do, but you're good dudes. You're real good dudes. So don't stop doing what you're doing. And I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Big hug.
You guys rock, man. It was a good time. It was a real good time. Very good time.